In the book of Daniel, chapter 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And Jehovah gave Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, into his hand, with some of the utensils of the house of Elohim, which he brought to the land of Shinar, to the house of his mighty one. And he brought the utensils into the treasure house of his mighty one. And the sovereign said to Ashpenaz, the chief of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel, and some of the sovereign's descendants, and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good-looking, having insight and all wisdom, having knowledge and understanding learning, capable to stand in the sovereign's palace, and to teach them the writing and speech of the Chasdim. And the sovereign appointed for them a daily ration of the sovereign's food and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end thereof they should stand before the sovereign. Now among them were from the sons of Yehuda, Dani'el, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And the chief of the eunuchs gave them names. He called Daniel Belshazzar, and Hananiah Shadrach, and Mishael Meshach, and Azariah Abednego. But Daniel laid it upon his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the sovereign's food, nor with the wine which he drank. So he asked permission from the chief of the eunuchs not to defile himself. And Elohim granted Daniel loving commitment and compassion from the chief of the eunuchs. But the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my master the sovereign, who has appointed your food and drink. For why should he see your face is looking worse than the young men who are your age? And then you'd make my head guilty before the sovereign. And Daniel said to the overseer, whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please try your servants for 10 days. Let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearances be examined before you, and the appearances of the young men who eat the portion of the sovereign's food. And then do with your servants as you see fit. And he listened to them in this matter and tried them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their appearances looked better and fatter in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the sovereign's food. And it came to be that the overseer took away their portion of food and the wine they were to drink, and gave them vegetables. As for these 4 young men, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. And at the end of the days, when the sovereign had said that they should be brought in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the sovereign spoke with them, and none among them all were found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they stood before the sovereign. And in any word of wisdom and understanding about which the sovereign examined them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and the astrologers who were in all his reign. And Daniel continued until the 1st year of the sovereign Koresh. Chapter 2. And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. And the sovereign gave orders to call the magicians and the astrologers and the practicers of witchcraft and the Chasdim to declare to the sovereign his dreams. So they came and stood before the sovereign. And the sovereign said to them, I've had a dream, and my spirit is troubled to know the dream. And the Kasdim spoke to the sovereign in Aramaic. O sovereign, live forever. Relate the dream to your servants, and we shall reveal the interpretation. The sovereign answered and said to the Kasdim, My decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream and its interpretation to me, your limbs shall be taken from you and your houses made dunghills. But if you reveal my dream and its interpretation, you shall receive gifts and rewards and great esteem from me. So, reveal to me my dream and its interpretation. They answered again and said, Let the sovereign relate to his servants the dream, and we shall reveal the interpretation. The sovereign answered and said, I know for certain that you would gain time, because you see that my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me, there's only one decree for you. For you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me till the time is changed. So relate the dream to me, then I shall know that you shall reveal its interpretation for me. The Kasdim answered the sovereign and said, There's no one on earth who's able to reveal the matter of the sovereign, because no sovereign or master or ruler has ever asked a matter like this of any magician or astrologer or Kasdim. And the matter that the sovereign is asking is difficult, and there is no other who's able to reveal it to the sovereign except the Elohim, whose dwelling is not with flesh. Because of this, the sovereign was enraged and very wroth, and gave orders to destroy all the wise ones of Babel. So the decree went out, and they began killing the wise ones. And they sought Daniel and his companions to kill him. Then, with counsel and wisdom, Daniel answered Arioch, the chief of the sovereign's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise ones of Babel. He answered and said to Arioch, the sovereign's officer, Why is the decree from the sovereign so urgent? And Arioch made the decision known to Daniel. And Daniel went in and asked the sovereign to give him time, and he would show the sovereign the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, to seek compassion from the Elah of the heavens concerning the secret, so that Daniel and his companions should not perish with the rest of the wise ones of Babel. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision, and Daniel blessed the Elah of the heavens. Daniel responded and said, Blessed be the name of Elah forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removes sovereigns and raises up sovereigns. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who possess understanding. He reveals deep and secret matters. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells within him. I thank you and praise you, O Elah of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might, and now have made known to me what I asked of you, for you have made known to us the sovereign's matter. So Daniel went to Arioch, whom the sovereign had appointed to destroy the wise ones of Babel. He went and said this to him, Do not destroy the wise ones of Babel. Bring me in before the sovereign, and I shall show the interpretation to the sovereign. Then Arioch brought Daniel in a hurry before the sovereign, and said thus to him, I have found a man among the sons of the exile of Yehudah who does make known to the sovereign the interpretation. The sovereign answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretation. Daniel answered before the sovereign and said, "The secret which the sovereign is asking, the wise ones, the astrologers, the magicians, and the diviners are unable to show it to the sovereign. But there is an Allah in the heavens who reveals his secrets, and he has made known to the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar what is to be in the latter days. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed were these. As for you, O sovereign, on your bed your thoughts came up. What is going to take place after this? And he who reveals secrets has made known to you what shall be after this. As for me, the secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sakes who make known the interpretation to the sovereign, and that you should know the thoughts of your heart. You, O sovereign, were looking on and saw a great image. This great image, in its brightness excellent, was standing before you, and its form was awesome. The image's head was of fine gold, its chest of arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron, partly of clay. You were looking on until a stone was cut out with hands, and it smote the image on its feet of iron and clay and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together and became like chaff from the summer threshing floors, and the wind took them away so that no trace of them was found. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled all the earth. This is the dream, and its interpretation we declare before the sovereign. You, O sovereign, are a sovereign of sovereigns, for the Allah of the heavens has given you a reign, power, and strength, and preciousness, and wherever the children of men dwell, or the beasts of the field and the birds of the heavens, he has given them into your hand and has made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold, and after you rises up another reign lower than yours, and another third reign of bronze that rules over the earth. And the fourth reign is as strong as iron, because iron crushes and shatters all. So, like iron that breaks in pieces, it crushes and breaks all of these. Yet, as you saw, the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, is because the reign is to be divided. But some of the strength of the iron is to be in it, because you saw the iron mixed with muddy clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the reign is partly strong and partly brittle. And as you saw iron mixed with muddy clay, they're mixing themselves with the seed of men, but they are not clinging to each other, even as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of these sovereigns, the Allah of heaven shall set up a reign which shall never be destroyed, nor the reign pass on to other peoples. It crushes and puts an end to all these reigns, and it shall stand forever. Because you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it crushed the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Allah has made known to the sovereign what shall be after this. And the dream is true, and its interpretation trustworthy. Then the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and did obeisance before Daniel, and gave orders to present to him an offering and incense. The sovereign answered Daniel and said, "Truly your Allah is the Allah of Elohim, the master of sovereigns, and a revealer of secrets, since you were able to reveal this secret. Then the sovereign made Daniel great and gave him many great gifts and made him ruler over all the province of Babel and chief of the nobles over all the wise ones of Babel. And Daniel asked of the sovereign, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the work of the province of Babel, and Daniel in the gate of the sovereign. Chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar the sovereign made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babel. And the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather the viceroys, the nobles, the governors, the councils, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the viceroys, the nobles, the governors, the councilors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officers of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald loudly proclaimed, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, O nations and languages, that as soon as you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, you should fall down and do obeisance to the gold image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is immediately thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire." So, as soon as all the people heard the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, all kinds of instruments, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and did obeisance to the gold image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Thereupon, at that time, certain Chasdim came forward and accused the Yehudim. They spoke and said to sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, "O sovereign, live forever. You, O sovereign, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments shall fall down and do obeisance to the gold image, and whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire. There are certain Yehudim whom you've set over the work of the province of Babel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O sovereign, pay no heed to you. They do not serve your Elohim, and they're not doing obeisance to the gold image which you've set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in a rage and wrath, gave orders to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the sovereign. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my Elohim, and you do not do obeisance to the gold image which I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, and you fall down and do obeisance to the image which I have made, good. But if you do not do obeisance, you are immediately thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire. And who is the Allah who does deliver you from my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the sovereign, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. For if so, our Allah, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning furnace of fire and from your hand, O sovereign, he does deliver. But if not, let it be known to you, O sovereign, that we do not serve your Elohim, nor do we do obeisance to the gold image which you've set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with wrath, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He responded and gave orders that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usual to heat it. And he commanded some of the strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the burning furnace of fire. So these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, and their turbans, and their other garments, and were thrown into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. Thereupon, because the sovereign's order was urgent and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed the men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. Then sovereign Nebuchadnezzar was amazed and stood up in haste and spoke and said to his counselors, "Did we not throw 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" They answered and said to the sovereign, "Certainly, O sovereign." He answered and said, "Look, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they're not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the son of Elohim." Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning furnace of fire. He spoke and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High Allah, come out and come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. And the viceroys, the nobles, the governors, the sovereign's counselors gathered together, seeing these men on whose bodies the fire had no power, and the hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments changed, nor did the smell of fire come on them. Nebuchadnezzar responded and said, "Blessed be the Allah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his messenger and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and changed the sovereign's order, and gave up their bodies that they should not serve nor do obeisance to any Allah except their own Allah. Therefore I make a decree that whoever of any people, nation, or language who speaks any wrong against the Allah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, his limbs shall be taken and his house made a dunghill, because there is no other Allah who's able to deliver like this." Then the sovereign promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babel.